Good morning, everyone. My name is Dr. Rachel Bussman, and I'm a clinical psychologist at the Child Mind Institute. We're a national nonprofit that supports children and families with gold standard mental health care, advice, and resources all online and available to everyone. You can learn more about the resources that we have by visiting the Child Mind Institute at childmind.org/coronavirus. We have information on how to obtain telehealth evaluations, treatment, also tips and resources, and we are using this Facebook Live to tune in with you every day at 10 a.m. and 4:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to provide you tips and strategies that are actionable. Join us this afternoon when we speak with Dr. Bethany Vibert about a very important topic on autism. So we're going to get started today with some questions about self-care. And so I really invite you to type in your questions now, and I'll be able to answer them. I'm really excited that people have already typed in questions and are kind of jumping on the bandwagon right away. So we're going to go ahead and get started because I think that probably a lot of people have heard about the word self-care. Maybe it's a buzzword to some. And admittedly, I like to be kind of transparent, and admittedly, self-care in the past has gotten me all a little anxious and prickly because in my mind, it sounds like something else I need to be doing that I'm not already doing a good job at. And so maybe you're like me a little bit and thinking, if you say one thing about self-care, like right now, this is a really tough time, and I just don't know if I can have one more thing I need to do. And so I'm going to start by both validating that sentiment for myself and also for anyone who's watching to say that self-care is both really necessary right now, and at the same time, I really want to just start off by validating that it is hard to think about another thing that you need to put on your plate. And it's also hard because a lot of people who are tuning in, and I think everyone right now is experiencing needing to give of themselves to someone else, maybe to your spouse, to your partner, to your children, to multiple children, to an elderly parent, and maybe all of those things. And so the idea of taking care of yourself seems like not the main priority. And so I'm going to validate that, yes, that is super, super hard to think about taking time for yourself when you're just trying to get through the day. On the other hand, self-care in general is just so important for a variety of things: our mental health, our physical health and wellness, and most importantly, to nourish ourselves in a way that prevents burnout or prevents or mitigates what sometimes happens when we're just in an incredibly stressful situation day in and day out. So the people who can burn out are the people who give and give and give and don't take the time to nourish themselves, even in a small way. So what we're really going to talk about today is, so first, we're not going to talk about what I think of when I imagine self-care sometimes, which is binge watching my favorite show, Schitt's Creek, and sitting on my bed and maybe having a bowl of ice cream. Like, those are luxuries. And even, let's face it, in the best of times, it's really hard to find those moments of indulgence and luxury. That's not what I'm talking about at all. I'm actually talking about finding ways to both infuse your day with moments of self-care, which sounds like, what is she talking about? And we're going to talk about that in a second. And also maybe generating an actual list or a mental list or something in your phone that includes activities that bring joy, because that is really important for self-care, are helpful for your physical and mental health and well-being. So some of these things might be things you're already doing. And so in that sense, you should say to yourself, oh, I didn't think I was taking care of myself, but actually I'm really glad to know that I'm doing some good stuff. Drinking water would be, I think, an amazing example of something that we probably don't put in the self-care bucket, and we should. And I think there are probably some people out there who should give themselves a pat on the back for drinking a lot of water, which is actually really, really important in all times, but times of stress and when we're depleting our energy, to stay hydrated. I'm drinking a super coffee right now, which is not in the line of drinking water. It's fluid, but it's not water. So really, some of us have these bottles of water that show us markers of when we've drank the equivalent of a glass, and those are actually fun and motivating for water drinking. The other thing you can do, if maybe you're a person like me who needs a little bit more motivation, might be to just put a few check boxes right on a piece of paper. And I'm going to do it right now to show you how easy it is. You put a check box, and when you drank a bottle of water, or a glass of water, I should say, give yourself a check. And again, starting small in terms of goals is great. So I know people who drink 8 glasses of water a day, no problem. If I had to put 8 boxes on my piece of paper, I actually think the likelihood of me succeeding is pretty low, because I might actually feel overwhelmed by that goal. So maybe I'm just going to start with 3 and feel really good about having hydrated and gone to the sink or the water bottle 3 times. So the first thing I'm going to say is that self-care is something we do throughout the day, not just at the end of the day as another checkbox of, okay, I did my self-care, just like I responded to my emails. It's actually really important to take these little breaks. And someone had a really great point who was saying, but I don't actually really feel like taking those 2-minute or 5-minute breaks is really helpful. And so I actually want to dispel you of the myth that it's not helpful. In fact, taking a few moments, let's say you answer some emails or you've sat through an extremely long conference call, which I've been doing a lot of, standing up and saying, I'm going to take 5 minutes. And I mean 5 minutes. Maybe you set your phone for 5 minutes and you do some arm stretches. I don't know about anyone else, but my neck and shoulders have been sort of like this. And to say I need a massage, again, luxury. I would love to have a little massage fairy come in and rub my shoulders all day. But actually, a lot of self-care tips can involve giving yourself a shoulder massage, going around, just doing a lap around the house, or walking up the stairs if you have them and down, moving your shoulders around, up and down, and really actually feeling what we call the tensing and releasing. So we can put some resources on our website for progressive muscle relaxation. But really, if we think about it super easy, we sometimes teach the kids we work with to make lemonade. So squeezing all your muscles together and squeezing those lemons and holding it for maybe 10 to 15 seconds and releasing. It actually is kind of amazing how you feel all that tension and then you actually feel it release. So you might be thinking, yeah, Rachel, you're giving me a tip, but is it really going to work? And I would say we could be good scientists and check it out and say, I don't know if it's going to work, but maybe we'll try it. I mean, how long is 5 minutes? I have to get up and go to the bathroom anyway, so maybe I'll just do some arm rolls. Maybe I'll stretch from side to side and see how that goes. So another really short-term tip or short-term strategy you can do is to drink water, is to do one of those little stretches. Another is that there are some great apps out there that I really like free apps. I don't like paying for apps, but a lot of apps offer free trials to try their app and then maybe offer a full price version. But a lot of the apps out there that offer what I consider some really great self-care activities can be free. And so you have to find what works for you, right? So I found a couple that I think are great for things like mindfulness or meditation. If you're someone who is thinking, maybe I could use some help with breathing, because we know breathing is good for us in so many ways, in terms of obviously just life, but just taking a moment. So there are apps like Calm, Aura, AURA, and I found one called Buddhify, or Stop, Think, Breathe. All of those have really nice interfaces where some of them even let you say, how am I feeling right now? I'm feeling good, happy. I'm feeling a little stressed. And they'll tailor a small guided meditation just based on how you're feeling. If you're someone who likes a more active approach or something like more artistic, there are some great coloring apps that I think can be great for kids, but great for adults. So like Recolor, RECOLOR, or Colorfy have sort of like mindful, but really just fun coloring book apps. I mean, you could also go to your printer, print out a picture and color it. I find for me that I get a little bit stressed and overwhelmed with the idea of coloring well. So those app-based products I think are really nice because you can see your progress and you can save it and come back to it. If you're someone who likes to be active, Pop Sugar Fitness is great. It has a lot of videos for all different kinds of exercise. And what I love about it also is you don't need a lot of space and you don't need a lot of equipment, right? So the thing I hate is when I go to do some kind of app or some kind of activity, and now I need weights and I need a mat and I need all kinds of stuff that I wasn't prepared for. And for some people, they could say, well, forget that. But, you know, if you don't have hand weights, you might have some cans of tomatoes that you can lift. And really, it's not about vigorous exercise. It's more about, can I spare 10 minutes doing sometimes yoga or 10 minutes of something more vigorous? I think that some people are writing in some great tips. So someone's saying BBC dance mat typing for kids. So someone's talking about typing and handwriting. But also someone posted before that they have a Facebook group just for people who are housebound. And I love that. I'm all about the village right now. And so your village could be someone you don't even know and that you've never met, but is having a similar experience to you. Another totally different self-care idea is something maybe you don't do during the day because you're working or you're managing homeschooling or being with your kids. But one thing to take care of yourself is to connect with your friends and other people that are important in your life. So I can say personally, I have been using actually a great app called Marco Polo, which allows you to take these little video clips of yourself. Could just be a video clip like, hi, good morning, how are you doing? Or you could get kind of silly and fun using voice filters and drawing. But I actually have been sending it to one of my best friends who I've been friends with since college, which is a really long time. And we don't actually speak on the phone that often, but we send each other one of these Marco Polos every morning. And that actually brings me a tremendous amount of joy. It can be distracting at times when you're getting a lot of Marco Polo pings, but I think importantly, connecting with people that are important in your life is going to bring you joy and can bring other people joy. So I've seen people having, I think my husband is going to do a card game with some of his friends later in the week. And so all those things are really, really important ways to take care of yourself. I think the other thing to mention, because I think we've been mentioning this along the way, is this idea of screen time. So we're both, I think all of us are sending a message of balancing screen time and putting away screen time. And how do you manage, hey, you're telling me to go to some apps and maybe you're telling me to do some things that involve a screen. What about just things that don't involve a screen? So yes, I think it's a balance, right? So some of the best things about technology are also some of the things that create problems, right? So for me, again, one of my goals is to get off my phone at night. And so really something that can provide me a tool for self-care can become a prevention in my self-care, so to speak. So getting off your phone, if you can, just sitting outside if that's possible. And again, I know everybody's in a different circumstance, but even if you can't walk outside and take a nice walk, you can maybe open your window. I have actually been listening to a lot of birds chirping, which is sometimes annoying when you're trying to pay attention to something, but also reminds me that spring is coming, which is really makes me very, very happy. And so, you know, can you take a walk? Yes. What if you can't take a walk? You can open your window, right? You can go on a walk and rather than listen to music, pay attention to the sounds around you. I had my son do a scavenger hunt yesterday, and one of the things he found was, you know, a few sounds, right? Or seeing things. It didn't necessarily have to be objects. So you absolutely, some of your self-care might involve having joyful time for yourself, but also maybe with your partner or with your kids, doing things like playing games or playing cards or doing charades or playing an instrument or telling stories. So there are things that absolutely don't need to involve screens and also don't need to involve money. For those who have a lot of cardboard boxes, there are lots of activities that can be done by building things, and that could be fun for kids, but also fun for adults that want to nourish their creative spirit and things like that. I'm seeing that some questions are coming in, so I'm going to check some of those as I multitask for a minute and just see if anyone has any specific questions or comments about self-care. Someone just made a really good comment. Maybe do nothing. Sometimes quiet and still is welcome. Well, that is a great point, right? So we're so caught up with all the things we need to do that taking a planned and intentional moment with nothing is a gift in some ways, right? So laying on your bed or just sitting in your chair and just having the absence of activity can actually be quite welcome for some people. I will also just say that for others, and I think it can vary for people, that stillness and quiet can actually bring on a little bit of unease. And because it's just, we don't do it a whole lot, right? So I am not going to say people's names, but for that person who shared, I applaud you for having that insight to be quiet and calm and do nothing. But don't worry if in moments of calm and quiet, you feel a flood of thoughts or emotions. That's normal. And just the greatest thing about having that moment is to just acknowledge I'm thinking about a lot of other things. And like we do in mindfulness practice, where we sort of observe our thoughts and feelings on a conveyor belt, you can just kind of let that other stuff that comes in just kind of coexist and say it's not the time for that. So thank you for that really awesome reminder of staying calm and quiet. So keep those questions coming because we have a few minutes. I think one thing I've noticed that seems to be the universal icebreaker and maybe also the universal thing that brings us joy is animals. So if you maybe this isn't the time to get a pet, although I've absolutely seen postings on social media of families bringing a pet into their life now. But if you have a cat, a dog, a fish, a bird, a hamster, a chinchilla, pets just kind of have a universal way of making us feel great. We ran a group the other day for our children with selective mutism, and I will tell you that there were a lot of pets making a visit in our group, and not just from the kids. So a lot of our staff and clinicians had their dogs and cats zoom into that meeting. And so petting your animal brings people joy. Like you've probably read articles where animals are brought into hospitals and nursing homes, and that's because they just bring joy. And so if you have a pet, give your pet some attention, and I guarantee that's going to end up bringing, it's hard to pet your animal and not feel an emotion that kind of brings some joy. Someone's asking, this is lovely. Thank you so much. Is it recorded so it can be shared later? Yes, we're recording all of these so you can share them later. And I should have mentioned that at the top of the hour, but if you're joining us now, we're recording this Facebook Live talking about self-care. We're posting our resources on childmind.org/coronavirus. And we record all of our Facebook. So if you like something you see and you want to share that, or you want to watch it later, please do. I also think that something you can do for self-care. So this is really if you have a little bit more time. So maybe you have a half an hour of time, or maybe you have some time on the weekend and you're wondering how you can take care of your family and maybe bring some joy. This is a little bit less direct. So this isn't about giving yourself a hand massage or drawing or painting. This is about giving back. So maybe you're saying, you know what would nourish me and help me have more gratitude and perspective is giving back in the community in some way. And so that's an awesome way to feel connected to your community, to feel like you have some perspective. So things that you can do, one might just be to reach out. Maybe you don't feel comfortable leaving your home. There are lots of ways you can go online and see, are there things needed in your community in terms of something you can donate just by clicking a box? Or could you, I've seen some of my friends, I have one family that I know and love, and they put some books out on their driveway, almost like a garage sale or a yard sale, but with no interaction. So just sharing books, sharing toys. I think that's awesome. Donating food or something like that. I also think we're in the time of Easter and Passover, which is, and Ramadan and other holidays and celebrations, which I think are very new for people. So maybe one thing I did for my family, because I'm celebrating Passover this evening, is I said to myself, how are we going to do this? I wonder if you can get a Haggadah online. And of course, there's a website for everything. So looking into that and how to make meaningful memories can nourish your mind and spirit. So those are some of the things. The last thing I'm going to say, and because I always have one more thing to say, is that one of the ways you can care for yourself is evoke your senses. And so we see things all day. So I'm actually not going to suggest something else you can see, but smell and touch is amazing. So there are probably smells around your home you don't have to invest money in. Maybe you have some lotion that has lavender or citrus, or maybe you have a spice that makes you think of, apple pie, like cinnamon or something. Evoking some smells takes just a few minutes, and that can actually be really powerful and evocative. So I'm going to just kind of wrap up by saying I hope that something in here resonated with you in a way that you can take 1 minute, 5 minutes, 10 minutes to take for yourself, to recharge your battery so that you can play the sort of, what we're in is a long game here. This is a marathon and not a sprint. I am going to make the dedication to drink 3 glasses of water today. And I'm going to do a few shoulder stretches, because I guess I should practice what I preach. I want to thank everybody for joining me today. I really hope it was helpful. Thank you for your comments. Remember, we are here Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. and 4:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're live and we're recording all of our messages. Please check our post on childmind.org/coronavirus so you can get updates, tips, and ways to reach us, because we are still providing treatment and gold standard mental health interventions. I really hope you join my colleague this afternoon at 4:30, Dr. Vibert. She is speaking about autism and autism during the coronavirus crisis. I think it's going to be an excellent post or event, and I hope that you can join us, and be well and stay safe.